Now, in regards to a player that I feel like way outperformed people's expectations, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. Jaxson Dart, he's a rookie out of Ole Miss. He was a first round pick for the New York Giants, and he is slated to be behind Russell Wilson on that roster. But, for me, like Jaxson Dart had a great game. He was 12 for 19, 154 yards and one touchdown. He showed the ability to stand in the pocket and take a hit on his TD throw, which, to me, he he got hit right after releasing that ball, and he stayed in that pocket. He took the hit, and he delivered a great pass. He led the receiver to an open spot in the end zone, and it resulted in a touchdown. And, everyone was really excited. And I think yesterday, if you were to ask anyone who was the standout player in all of the preseason so far, it's definitely going to be Jaxson Dart from that perspective. For me, I thought he read the defense really well the entire time. He was waiting for his spots, to be able to get the ball down the field to his players. And, the entire time I felt like he did a really good job of that. Again, he is slotted to be behind Russell Wilson, but when it comes to rookies, especially rookie quarterbacks, there's always going to be a lot more excitement around them. There's going to be a lot more hope that people are going to have around those players, because quarterbacks can really make or break a franchise. We've seen this happen many times, right? Think of players like Joe Burrow. The Bengals were habitually bad. They were perennially bad until Joe Burrow came around. And, I know they haven't been able to make it to the playoffs the last couple years, but again, Joe Burrow is who really turned that entire franchise around. And I'm not saying Jaxson Dart is the next Joe Burrow by any means. Again, the Giants are looking for that next franchise quarterback. Russell Wilson is there really for a cup of coffee. I don't think anyone's really thinking Russell Wilson is going to be the quarterback in New York longer than this season at the longest, right? And again, they invested a first round pick into Jaxson Dart, so they clearly like him. They see something in him that means that they think that he could become a franchise quarterback for them. And I think he showed that on that field today. He looked like a true professional, and he looked poised out there. And I wouldn't be surprised that if the Giants, if they're struggling in the beginning of the regular season, you're going to start hearing chants in the stands for people wanting to see Jaxson Dart sooner rather than later. Something else that I was really impressed of when it came to Jaxson Dart was his ability to manage the offense as a whole, right? One thing that I noticed when he was out there was there seemed to be no sort of pre-snap confusion. There wasn't really any pre-snap penalties. Really, he just looked smooth out there, and he looked comfortable running that offense. And that's a huge step for any quarterback, especially a rookie quarterback. So definitely Jaxson Dart was a player that stood out to me in a positive way. I expect to see him do more of that in the second week of the preseason, and I'm sure Giants fans are hoping for the same thing. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, tell me your takes. This is Bad Takes from Bad Takes in Football, signing out.